You're listening to the Ska Mailman podcast, and we're back after a little bit of a hiatus. We're finally releasing some of these episodes, and today we're talking with Jordan Morris, a comedian, author, super funny dude, loves ska, has for a long time, been involved in the ska scene since the OC days in the 90s. But he's been repping ska ever since. You can catch him on Good Mythical Morning. He's Cotton Candy Randy, amongst a bunch of other things he does on that show. But he wears a Catbite shirt on there every now and then, which kind of caught the attention of In Defense of Ska. So he's done some In Defense of Ska episodes, and now he's on the Ska Mailman podcast promoting his new book on Marvel Comics. It is part of the Predator series, so check out the episode to get all the deets on how to pre-order that. It's coming out really soon, but he's also done some other graphic novels and written for other comic books. Really good writer. He's written on At Midnight. He's been on a ton of comedy programs, a bunch of podcasts. Doughboys, How Did This Get Made? He has one of the longest running podcasts of all time. Go, Jessie Go. Really funny guy. Really fun to talk to. Very nice. A really great chat. I'm glad it's finally out. We recorded this back in November and released it now because Predator is almost out, the comic book. Check it out. Jordan Morris on the Ska Mailman podcast.
The Ska Mailman, step up to the mic, yeah. The Ska Mailman, we're talking music and life. And the Ska Mailman, we're hanging with our friends. The Ska Mailman, listen again and again, yeah. This has got to be the best podcast I've heard all week. I heard from the mailman.
Welcome to the Ska Mailman podcast. I'm your host, Adam, the Ska Mailman Wallace. Joining me today, a longtime podcaster, comedy writer. You know him. It's Jordan Morris. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, good to be here. I'm glad that people know me. That's
well, at least in the ska circuit, you've made your way around the ska podcast, and I think you're known now as an official ska lover. So,
oh yeah, no, sure. I'll take it. Something else for the resume.
Yeah,
podcaster, writer.
Well, you've done so many like podcasts that I know a lot of people are fans of. I'm a fan of. You've been on the Doughboys.
Yes.
You've been on How Did This Get Made?
That's right.
And you have your long running podcast. And as soon as I saw you pop up on In Defense of Ska,
yes,
a couple years ago, I was like, oh, he's one of us. And so that was exciting.
Love those dudes. R.I.P. to a legendary ska program.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of the reason why I started this show, was between them and Checkered Past, the Skodcast, which you also appeared on a couple times.
I've been on that.
Because they went away, I was like, well, you know what? I've always wanted to do it.
Power vacuum.
Yeah. What's funny about that too with Checkered Past is you did the Real Big Skirmish, the Heptember thing, and originally Rob had asked me if I was available, and for some reason at that time, like, I just couldn't make it.
Right.
And so I don't know if you were the replacement for me or if Devin K was or somebody else, but either way, I won the bracket. So thank you for contributing.
Happy to fill in.
Right off the bat, I do want to talk about the shirt you're wearing, which is Wicked Bears.
Hey, yeah, good call.
I don't know if you know this. I am the official president of the Wicked Bears fan club.
No way. They're like my favorite band. I really love them. They're so great. I got served them. Wicked Bears, not a ska band per se, but a friend to ska bands.
Yeah.
A kind of a pop punk, skate punk type band, and they got a ska breakdown or two.
Totally.
But, largely, I mean, I think I try and sell them to people as being like, you know, kind of the sound of a Blink-182 or a NoFX, but with kind of weird. They might be giantsy, funny, kind of trippy lyrics. So yeah, I love those guys. Algorithm just kind of served them randomly to me during the pandemic, and it's just like, hey, you'd like this. I'm the algorithm, and I'm like, oh, I do like this. So
they're going to be stoked to hear that, because they are actually really good friends of mine. Like Nick,
nice.
Nick, the guitarist in the band, is a really great friend of mine. We played a show together here in Boise, is where I'm at. We played a show together a couple months ago, and they crashed on my couch. So they're really
very
great
cool.
dudes.
Very
but
cool.
Yes,
I'm glad to hear that.
You're absolutely right, though, that they do have they have that little touch of ska with one of their songs. But Nick, the guitarist, used to play in an old ska band called Show Me Island.
Okay.
and he's got like an Operation Ivy tattoo, and he's
Check
like
it
super
out.
well versed in
Okay.
it. So it's just funny. I clocked that shirt. I was like, oh, I didn't think anyone else had that, because I have that same design on a coffee mug, and it's my favorite mug.
Yeah, it's the Wicked Bears logo, and then in Japanese, and I think when I bought this at the merch stand, they explained to me that in Japanese it doesn't say Wicked Bears, it says Cool Bears,
Oh,
because maybe
okay.
like Wicked doesn't
There's
mean
not a
exactly the same thing in
right,
Japan, so
not like a
so
wicked
Cool
awesome.
Bears. Yeah,
So you
exactly.
actually got to see them live then?
I did, yeah. I've gotten to see them a couple of times. One, I think both times in Orange County, actually. I don't know that they've
Okay,
ever been to LA, LA, the larger LA area where I
sure.
live. So I've made the trek down to my hometown of Orange County. That's how much I love those
That's
guys.
awesome. Did you see them with Scott Klopfenstein?
I did the Littlest
Okay.
Man Band,
Yeah.
another ska connection there. Scott from Real Big
Yeah.
Fish, his piano pop band.
Because that's when I first saw them, was on that tour, and they did a stop in Austin, Texas, and I went there
Nice.
for a music festival that was the Ska Punk International Fest.
Oh, I
And
always check out the lineup to that thing, and I've always kind of dream
yeah,
about heading out to it. So maybe one of these days I'll make it.
totally. I went to the first two. I didn't get to go last year, but I went to the one in Austin and the one in Connecticut, and it is a blast.
bet.
It is so much well, and it's just that ska punk energy that you look for in shows, like
Right.
just silliness, and everyone's on the same page about
Aw,
being
cool.
silly. Like I think I mentioned it on a previous episode that at one point this band Power Up was playing, and they're this like really great ska core band from Massachusetts, and I turn around and there's a giant inflatable Hellman's mayonnaise going around in the pit.
That's
I was like,
very ska, very ska.
only at a ska show is this going to happen. Well, we wanted you on the show to talk ska, but
Yes.
to also promote everyone should pre-order if it's available. You're doing a run of comic books for Predator Bloodshed from Marvel.
Yes, thank you.
Let's talk about that right off the top. That's so
It is
fascinating.
indeed available for pre-order now at your local comic book shop. Yeah, I've kind of a recent-ish thing for me is I've been writing comics. I've been a comics reader basically all my life. I know you're shocked to hear that someone who is into ska is also into comic books. I'm the one guy. No, a common Venn diagram to overlap, I realize. But yes, I've been a comics reader for basically my whole life, and have always kind of wanted to try it, to do it. I don't draw, so like I didn't have that in, but I've lucked out, and I've met some cool people, and I've been writing some comics the past couple years, and I've just started to do some work with the great Marvel Comics. Maybe you've heard of them. And one of my projects with them is a Predator miniseries. Marvel has the Predator license. I know that if we're about the same age, so maybe we both read the like Dark Horse Predator comics from back in the day.
Oh yeah, huh.
Those were good, legendary comics, of course. But yeah, now Marvel has the license, and they've been doing some very cool things with Predator. And I'm doing a mini series with them called Predator Bloodshed. I think there's a artist that has not been announced yet, so I won't do it here. But
Okay.
a couple different cool artists collaborating on this, but the main artist, TBD, I can tell you it's a very, very cool one, and people will be stoked if they're Marvel readers. So what I pitched to Marvel was Predator if he got loose inside the Mortal Kombat tournament. Now,
yeah.
we obviously don't have the license to actual Mortal Kombat, so it's not a proper crossover, but you take one of those underground fighting tournaments like from Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, or maybe some of the old Van Damme movies from the 80s like Bloodsport or Kickboxer. So that kind of like different martial artists from different disciplines kind of pair up and fight. So I love that genre, of course. Yeah, I love those video games. I love those movies. So yeah, I kind of thought, the Predator, the galaxy's greatest hunter, of course, he would just love to be there in the middle of a tournament where great champions gather. So yeah, I'm writing that. It'll be a 5-issue mini series. It comes out February 25th. The first issue drops. And yeah, I'm super stoked about it. If people have a pull list at their local comic book store, definitely ask for Predator Bloodshed. And if you want to get signed copies, signed by me through the mail, you can go to bit.ly/coolfight, bit.ly/coolfight. And that'll take you to the website of Collector's Paradise, a great comic book store that I'm doing that with. So you'll get the issues signed, you'll get them in the mail, cover price. Everybody wins.
Nice. Well, and as a mailman, I do love some good mail.
There you
media
go.
mail coming out to
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Media mail. It's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah. I have noticed that there is like a lot more comedy writers writing for comics. At least that I've noticed. Like I know Scott Aukerman just had a really big run of like writing Spider-Man issues.
That's right. Yeah.
So
I read some of those comics. That was great. Scott Aukerman, a very cool dude, and definitely like an OG comics reader from way back.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, I just love seeing like the comedy writers like getting to do that. I'm a big comedy nerd.
Yes.
Obsessed with all of it. And so, like I said, when finding out that like someone who has been working in these spaces that like I watch and kind of didn't even realize, like you were a writer on At Midnight.
I was.
And I loved At Midnight.
Yeah.
And
show.
so one of those things where you kind of come around, and same with like I'm a big Good Mythical Morning fan.
Yes.
And so when I see Jordan Morris pop up on a ska podcast, it gets all the ska people all excited. At least me, just like, cool. Hell yeah, it's just another one. So I did want to talk about ska, obviously, because I am the ska.
Yes, we have to. People would be really disappointed if they listened to this whole thing and ska never came up.
But I will direct the listener, because I don't want to overlap too much with your other interviews, to go check out. You did a couple of Indefensive Ska, a couple of Checkered Past. So let's get a little bit of your backstory on coming into ska. What's your ska intro?
Yeah, so I grew up in Orange County, California in the 90s. I was, going to high school in the 90s, so obviously that third wave ska boom was like huge. I was like right in the middle of it, and there's so many like Orange County, Southern California bands that were just kind of like playing around the, in the area, and that were like pretty easy for a high school kid to go see. I was just like all about it, and I think and I had some kind of experience with two-tone ska kind of from the radio. Like obviously I had heard Madness and the Specials and the English Beat and stuff like that, but like that third wave ska really seemed to me like it was like unique, and it was kind of I don't know. I think sometimes that two-tone ska, which is obviously amazing, I think to me in high school it's like, oh, this is kind of like retro a little bit, and this is kind of from a previous generation's pop music. So when I heard the kind of like third wave ska stuff, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. I've never heard anything like this before. And I was just kind of all about it. I wanted to start going to shows. I still love going to see live music, but going to shows was so much fun. And it just kind of felt really cool, and it did. It felt like you were in the middle of something special and unique that was just like happening, then and now, or kind of there and then. And like obviously that stuff kind of made its way onto commercial radio and MTV and stuff, but like there was definitely a time when it's like, this is a little scene that's just ours. And it was so much fun. And I was seeing, your Less Than Jakes, your Real Big Fishes, Aquabats. And they were, and they would play kind of like bigger festival shows, but also they would just play, little cafes and all ages venues and stuff like that. So it was super fun to get to see those bands, in kind of like smaller venues. And I don't know. I was just like, I was all about it. And I definitely like took a break from ska for a couple of years, like in college. I think like many people, I kind of succumbed to the like embarrassment around liking ska that kind of happened. The backlash to it was basically immediate, and and it really became this like punchline. And I think I definitely felt kind of self-conscious about it. So I definitely like tried to branch out and tried not to like have ska immediately come on the car radio as soon as people got in the car. But, I think what happened was I got a little less self-conscious. I got a little less, I got a little less, vain about what people thought about my music taste. And I started to just like listen to a bunch of other great kind of new ska bands, your Catbites, your We Are the Unions, and like such great bands. And I'm like, oh wow, there's still like new ska bands getting started, and they're awesome, and they're like more, diverse influentially. Like, so many ska bands do, hardcore and, kind of like, stuff that kind of sounds, that kind of Midwest emo-y sound kind of
Yeah.
trickles in there
Yeah.
sometimes. And then Catbite, which is just this kind of like great two-tone style band that, for the most part sounds like they could, have come out in the mid 80s. And yeah.
Sure, yeah, totally. I get that. No, and I think we have kind of a similar path with that. In like,
Yes.
I remember when because even me being like a giant ska fan, and everyone knows that like I listen to like 99% ska. Yeah, like I had to like adult things now, and like the biggest example I have is like there was one day where I threw away all of my Guitar Hero stuff.
Yeah.
So I have to, I
Right.
can't play video games anymore. And kind of with that was like, I'm not going to wear band shirts anymore. I'm
Mhm.
not going to, and like this silly thing, because that is my favorite thing about ska now, and is how silly and like
Mhm.
whimsical it can be, and not all the time. I mean, there's plenty of serious topics, and I love the seriousness of it, but at the same time, it's the Hellman's mayonnaise in the pit.
Right,
Like
of
it's just
course.
fun. And so I eventually came back around to it, and it was Catbite that really got me back in. And Bite Me Bambi as well, because
Oh, yeah,
they've
they're
been
great.
doing a bunch.
Orange County's own, I think, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and then like 2:30, but they were doing it for a long time, but I didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
discover them probably until like 2015 ish. But yeah, Catbite kind of saved the scene a little bit, and they're blowing up now. I think they are the first like newer ska band that has surpassed 1 million streams on Spotify in a song.
That's a cool milestone. I'm not surprised. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're just terrific, and I think that and I think they are ska without sounding like stereotypically ska.
yeah,
Like the kind of goofy
yeah,
joke ska that haters kind of hear in their head. I think it's different enough, and it sounds
yeah,
enough like two-tone and more traditional ska to where like
yeah.
it doesn't hit the ear in the same way that like Real Big Fish
Well,
does.
and they also have like they do have a bit of a grit to it. That it's
Totally.
kind of that two-toneness that I do think like the non-ska fan could appreciate, and that's why they can be put on so many different bills. Like I
Of
saw
course.
them at the NoFX Punk and Drublick
Oh
last
yeah,
year,
sure.
and they fit well. I mean, and NoFX does plenty of ska,
Right.
but they really fit well on the bill, and they're just getting huge. But also part of it is like that they are nonstop going, and I mean, I think there's got to be a little bit of credit to. I mean, I've seen you in a Catbite t-shirt on Good Mythical
Oh
Morning. That's
yeah,
got to
sure.
help a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I am partially responsible, I think, for their
Yeah,
ascendancy.
yeah.
Not their talent or their hard work. It's me, Jordan. I did it with
But
my
just
t-shirt wearing.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people are looking at your t-shirt on Good Mythical Morning going, "Oh, I wonder what shirt he's wearing." But there's got to be at least a few. I'm
I hope. I
assuming.
think so. I think that's fair to say.
And on the topic of Good Mythical Morning, I did want to talk about that a bit.
Sure.
I'm a new third degree member, third degree
Okay.
mythical
Yes.
society.
Uh-huh.
But when I did see that, Jordan Morris is a ska fan, at
Mhm.
first, I was just like, yes, hell yeah. And then I was like, well, obviously he's Cotton Candy Randy. That's the most ska thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I know it could be an Aquabats villain, couldn't it? Come out in the middle of the show
Yeah.
and get hit
I
with
mean,
pies or something.
and that's kind of what I thought too with it. I was like, it is like an Aquabats villain.
Yeah.
The Cotton Candy Randy is so funny. It's so ska, and that does like I do want to know your thoughts on like ska and comedy, because they do kind of
Mhm.
go together, and it feels like a lot of comedy people are really into ska. I just interviewed Anna Valenzuela and Brandy
Oh
Posey,
yeah.
and
Oh
they
sure.
and they
Two
both are,
buds. They're great.
yeah, they're amazing, and they both are these huge ska fans, and they really carry the flag for it. And
They both did
Brandy,
stand up on the Warp Tour, right? Did I see on their
yeah,
social media? They're
yeah.
like there's like a comedy tent at Warp Tour now. That's so
It,
cool. What a great gig.
it's they have the acoustic tent, and
Okay.
they in between I think they were like I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think they were doing like comedy act, acoustic act, comedy act,
Right.
kind of back and forth.
Yeah, that's so
But
cool.
yeah, I mean, and so I loved seeing that. We talked about that a little bit with both Anna and Brandy.
Yeah, definitely as a kid, also a comedy nerd, you'll be shocked to know. And yeah, I think that is definitely something that drew me to those bands, like was the fact that they did jokes and they had like funny stage banter. And yeah, with the Aquabats, it's a whole like little sketch comedy show that you're watching. So totally, I think that like spoke to the kind of kid I was, and that's what still speaks to kind of like that sort of kid. And like obviously not all ska bands are jokey, and there
Right.
are ska bands that are like like content wise closer to punk bands and hardcore bands, so like it's not all goofy silly guys in Hawaiian shirts. But at the time I think I was really into that, and I think I
Of
was
course.
like I think I was kind of a timid kid too. I think I kind of a timid adult as well, but like I think I was a timid kid, and the idea of going to like a hardcore show or a like more like serious traditional punk show was a little bit scary. I think that I was
Yeah.
still, there were news reports about how people got stabbed at the
Right.
Vandals concert. And, it was
Right.
kind of, vilified in a way. So the idea that I could go to these shows where there wasn't like a ton of drinking and drugs, some
Right.
certainly, but like, if you compare it to other kinds of, like indie music shows, certainly less of that stuff. And I think it was a safe space for a kid who was kind of scared of that stuff, but
Sure.
also like a goofball, just to be a fun, silly, silly pants, and without having to kind of worry about some of that other stuff.
Yeah. So, that makes sense because like I was like into punk and hardcore and stuff, but I did always feel a little bit out of place. And that a ska show, I never really did feel out of place. And I think partially because I was a theater kid and a
Mm-hmm.
band kid. And I feel like the majority of people at ska shows are theater kids and band
Of
kids. And
course,
I
yes.
think you said before
Big
that
overlap there.
there's
Yeah.
quite a crossover, yeah, between like people who love improv and love
Mm-hmm.
ska.
Mm-hmm.
And so it did feel a little safer, but still you got like some punk credibility because the punk kids who were there watching the show, like there are punks with like Liberty spikes and stuff
Of
going to these
course,
shows.
yeah.
And so you do get a little bit of like, I mean, well, they think it's cool. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I've got to be
totally.
a little cool.
Mm-hmm.
But did you ever like play music, or are you just like a music enjoyer? Like, do you play guitar, piano? Were you in the
No,
band or
I took
anything?
some violin lessons as a kid. I took some
Okay.
violin lessons, and I think I was in like junior high orchestra. So yeah, I never really like tried to start a band myself, but I've always been just a fan.
That's just it's so interesting because I feel like most of the people who I talk to who like ska were like, "Oh yeah, I played in the marching band." You know what I mean? So
Right.
to come at it without that part of it, I just haven't heard from a ton of people who have gone into it that way. So it's just nice to know that's
I
like,
mean, it was a
yeah, just
huge,
people.
huge movement for marching band kids, right? Like you have this
Yeah.
instrument that previously has been labeled uncool, but you
Right.
could like join a band and play shows. Yeah, I think that was huge. Yeah, definitely. Like the marching band kids were eating good there for a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then on modern ska, it's known you love Catbite. We've got a
Hmm.
T-shirt. You know I know you like Omnigon and you go to these
Yeah,
shows.
Omnigon.
But how like tapped into like newer stuff are you? Like do you go to shows still like a lot with these newer bands? Are you still discovering new bands, or how does that all going for you?
I try to. Yeah, I don't make it out to as many shows as I did in like high school and college,
Yeah, well, you're a busy
obviously.
guy.
Yeah, and I gotta go to bed earlier than I used to. But yeah, I still like to check out new bands and go to smaller shows and stuff like that. Yeah, there's this Southern California band that I started following online called Chudson. This Adam
Okay.
from Link 80 turned me on to Chudson.
Okay.
He was saying that they're like doing it. So yeah, they're like a, teens, 20s ska band. And yeah, they just
Okay.
play VFW halls and rec centers, and yeah, have a really cool, energetic sound. And yeah, that's my goal. At some point before the year's over, I'm gonna go see Chudson somewhere.
Well,
So
now I'm gonna look into that. That's one of those bands I haven't heard of.
yeah, they're a
So
hoot.
that's great. And
And
I
yeah.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, and I still love a good show. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that'd be really fun.
I try really hard to keep up with everything, and
Yeah.
I've got a ton of newer bands that I really enjoy and I talk to all the time. But I still also want to give a lot of love to the old third wave bands. And I don't know if you have heard like a ton of like shit talking about the third wave, but I certainly have. I've gotten a lot of
Sure.
shit for liking third wave stuff. Currently, like I feel like a lot of bands or a lot of young ska fans now are citing two tone more so than they are the Aquabats
Yeah.
or Real Big Fish or anything like that. But I mean, there's still some, but it feels kind of divisive right now, which is kind of strange. I don't know if you've like tapped into any of that.
I don't know if I've clocked anything like that. I mean, I mostly go to see shows from second and third wave bands. Like I've seen Fishbone a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
times this year. I've seen Less Than Jake this year. Guess who
Yeah,
still
so
got it?
you
Less
went to
Than
the
Jake.
did you go to the summer circus? Is that
I did go to the summer circus. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. What a hoot! They let me shoot the toilet paper cannon into the crowd.
Oh, no
That was
way.
a real thrill. If you've ever been to a Less Than Jake show, they have a toilet paper cannon hooked up to a leaf blower.
What a dream.
And got to shoot it into the crowd. Oh my god, what an amazing night. I can't speak to people like slagging off third wave. Like obviously when I was in college, it was a real punchline, and so I know about people having those feelings. It would seem strange to me that a ska fan would slag it off, and I absolutely understand liking
Right.
the Specials or Madness better than Real Big Fish. Maybe it's just more your style, maybe it's just more your speed. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's music scenes, and we're nerds for things, and we're
Yeah.
snobs for things in ways, and anytime someone gets nerdy about something, there's always the negative, there's always the
Right.
I mean, it's Star Wars fans, right? It's like if you like the
Right,
original trilogy, you hate the prequels, and if you like the prequels, you hate the sequels, and if you like the so it just kind of comes with being a nerd. Unfortunately, it's that it's the passion for the thing that leads you to be kind of passionately negative about what you perceive as the
Right.
other thing.
Right.
So it's unfortunate, and it would be great if everybody could just kind of come together a little bit more and enjoy it. But when you're talking about nerds, it's gonna happen.
Well, and to be fair, I think I'm specifically talking about Ska Reddit, which is a horrible place that no one should visit anyway.
Oh, I was called fat on Ska Reddit once.
Yeah, Ska
And I'm
Reddit
like,
is the worst.
This is a new low for me, being called fat on the Ska Reddit.
Like I literally tried to stay away from Ska Reddit as much as I possibly can because I feel like it's so bad. But the more and more, like, since I started this podcast, I'm like, well, I'll try and like push the episodes out, and people on Ska Reddit, obviously it's like, no, don't push it on Ska Reddit. It's horrible.
I've also had some nice experiences on there, I should say.
Oh, that's good.
I pulled that one time where someone called me fat but I do think there are cool people on there, and I've definitely been
For
on
sure.
Ska Reddit and discovered some cool bands, and had some nice interactions too.
Well,
But,
I know one of the old moderators, but he's not a moderator anymore, and I do think that kind of has something to do with it not being as good anymore.
Yep,
but
the mods, they set the tone.
But no, the guy who I know is like fantastic, a great ska dude. So once he stopped being a moderator, I was like, ooh, they're gonna miss you. It's show day, so I'm going home. I'm getting out of my uniform and into my show fit. Check for my phone, wallet, keys, and of course, my Eargasm earplugs. I never go to a show without them. They come in this convenient carrying case and go easily in your ear. Now you have high quality sound at every show you go to. So head over to eargasm.com to get yours and use promo code MAILMAN10 for 10% off your next order. That's eargasm.com, promo code MAILMAN10 for 10% off your next order. I would absolutely lose my mind if I got to shoot the toilet paper cannon at a Less Than Jake show.
A genuine thrill. Yeah.
And then same, we talked about like Aquabat's villains. Like I would absolutely like I would be okay with like passing away tomorrow if I got to be on stage and doing like an Aquabat's villain fight.
Oh,
Same with like, or like if we're talking Less Than Jake still, putting on like Evo Kid, like whole get up and just doing any of it, I think would be such a thrill. So like how did you end up getting to do that, and what's like, it sounds like you celebrated it like pretty.
Like totally. No, I've become kind of friends online with a couple of the Less Than Jake and one of the tech fellas for the Suicide Machines.
Oh, okay.
And they were both doing that tour together.
Yeah.
And they just they knew I was a fan, and they were nice enough to get me a little ticket backstage and let me
That's
shoot the
great.
cannon. It was a real thrill.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to fulfill one of those things. As soon as we're done with this conversation, I do have an interview hooked up with someone who just moved really close to me, who happens to be Parker Jacobs from the Aquabats.
Hey, that's so cool. Oh my
and
gosh.
so I'm
Do you
gonna
have
go
any
interview him.
idea? Do you have any idea how they cast those on stage monsters? I always assumed it was like guys from the crew or like the merch team or something, but do you know anything else about where those monsters come from?
I'm going to take your question and I'm going to bring it to him immediately because I
Okay.
want to know. I want to find out. I want to get involved. I want to be on the Aquabats team because they are a huge deal to me.
Yeah.
It'd
be funny if it was just like legitimate actors, like, oh yeah, Ryan Gosling is in there sometimes.
Well, speaking of Star Wars, it'd be
Jared
kind
Leto.
of the same thing. Yeah, it's like, you want to be a stormtrooper? It's like, hey, you want to be the powdered milkman?
Sure. Both equally cool, equally huge honors.
But so that does make me think then in your time in high school, you got to see a lot of these bands kind of like early on.
Yes.
In there before, like in smaller venues and like with original lineups and stuff. So, what's that like? Like when you think of the Aquabats, do you just picture like Travis Barker in your head? Because like that's when you saw that.
Oh, I totally saw them with Travis Barker. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the Aquabats, they have costumes, so a little bit tough to
right.
tell who's under there at any given moment.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. It's super fun to be able to see a band, to like have a memory of a band. You just watching them play in a rec center, and then you later in life see them in an amphitheater or at a giant festival. So yeah, very cool to like just remember, being up close and shooting the shit with them at the merch table, and yeah, being a goofy teenager, and yeah, all my like interactions with those bands, in my teen years were really positive and cool. So
yeah, it's just really cool. Like, I think of ska in like certain areas, right, that like you kind of revisit as like Mecca in a way, like going to like 924 Gilman Street is like on my bucket list. I want to go because that's where Operation Ivy blew up. And so that seems like a ska place to go. And same with like Orange Street in Jamaica for like the 60s, or going to Coventry. And just being anywhere in Orange County seems like that for the third wave for me. Like, I just want to go to like Volcano Burger and just like be like, this is where it all started.
I guess I don't know Volcano Burger. What's the significance of?
Oh, apparently Aaron Barrett hung out there all the time because the high school that like him and Scott and Dan all went to was like right around the corner across the street or something. And it was rumored that if you like hung out there for a day or like 2 days, eventually you would see Aaron Barrett, and that's how Half Past Two was able to have Aaron produce one of their like early albums. Was like they were just waiting for him to come into Volcano Burger, and then he really did. Funny. And they were like, "Hey,
I've never heard of Volcano Burger." Okay,
yeah, I only learned about it from Tara from Half Past Two, and ever since then, I was like, "Well, I have to go there. Like, it's an absolute must."
Yeah, the all ages venue I went to, Chain Reaction. It used to be called Public Storage when I think they were threatened with a lawsuit by the company Public Storage. They changed to Chain Reaction. So yeah, that's that all. It's an all ages venue in a little strip mall next to a St. Vincent's thrift store and check cashing place, and it's still there. I went to something there a couple years ago just to see what it was like and get a little hit of nostalgia, and it was really cool.
I've heard a lot about Chain Reaction because there are a lot of bands who still play there. Yeah, that's just one I just that'd be another cool one to go to. Same with like Bottom of the Hill. There's just certain venues.
Bottom of the Hill is very fun. I went to Gilman Street last year for the first time. I too grew up like hearing Gilman Street stories, and such an important like punk rock place and such an important ska place. And I was up there for a comics event, and it was like it was on the same block as Gilman Street. The event was at a brewery. And like Gilman Street was just, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to go to whatever show they have tonight.
Yeah.
And I saw this French hardcore band called Rixe, Rixe, and
Okay.
they fucking ruled. And Gilman Street was great. And I got a t-shirt. Yeah. It's so awesome. Yeah. Definitely like, if you ever get a chance to go, do it. I had the time of my life.
Oh yeah, I fully plan on, and I want to go when they host a ska night, because I know they still make sure to do that. Like they still put ska as like a priority. Like we're gonna at least do a ska night and have all these ska bands, and like the Hellas play there a lot, and Sad Snack and all these other cool like Bay Area
Sad
bands.
Snack. They're a fun band too. I like them a lot.
I love Sad Snack. They're a bunch of fun. I also saw them in Austin for the Ska Punk International Fest, and they threw out a bunch of Scooby snacks, like fruit snacks, out in the audience because they're Sad Snack, and I just thought that was so cool and funny that when I started my band is called Lab Rats, and it's very similar to the Aquabats. Like I get dressed up, we do bits, and we throw stuff out to the audience, and I had all these goldfish that I threw out the last time I played a show, because I have a song called Shark in the Water. So I was like, it's time to chum the waters, and I start throwing out all these goldfish. That was directly inspired by Sad Snack, and I feel like that only happens at ska shows.
Yeah. I think there was a band. I don't know if they ever I don't know how long they were around. There was a band called G Spot growing up, and they would always throw condoms. That to a teenager who was like seeing, the adult world for the first time, very fun and scandalous. It's like, oh my God, condoms.
I completely feel that. One of my very first Warped tours that I ever went to, I was 14, and I had this giant afro at the time, like it was huge. Mm-hmm. And these girls were working for Trojan, and they were coming around and they started putting condoms in, like wrapped ones, into my afro, and kind of like hiding them. And I remember, at 14 being like, oh my God, am I even allowed to have these? Like,
I can't believe it.
Can they give them to me?
I'm basically a grown up.
And that was the same Warped Tour where I saw Bad Religion for the first time. And it was like life changing. But, and this will get us into the next topic. The girl who I was dating at the time, very nice young lady. I had nothing but good memories. She was pissed that we were seeing Bad Religion because she was very, very, very Christian.
Right. Yes. And Bad Religion, definitely the enemy of serious Christians with their Crossbuster logo.
Well, and that's exactly what did it. It was on the drum kit. They had the logo right there on the bass drum. And we're watching. She was like, what is this? And I was like, well, it's Bad Religion. She was like, well, I hate that logo. And I was like, oh, well, it's their logo. And she was like, we have to leave. And I was like, I'm not leaving. I want to see Bad Religion. And it was like a point of contention.
You were just going to were you going to leave the amphitheater, or were you just going to go stand at the other side where you couldn't hear them?
Right, I guess. Yeah, we're just like, oh, well, I guess we'll just go watch Under Oath play instead, because they are Christian and we can watch them. Sure. But that leads me to the next thing, is that you did grow up on a lot of Christian ska.
Yes.
And also that can bring us into like your graphic novel youth group.
So yes, I was a youth group kid. Again, a shocking backstory that is surprising no one. I did. I was in Orange County. I went to one of these hip youth groups where the youth pastor sits backwards on the chair and raps to you about a pretty cool guy named JC, who is kind of punk rock, if you ask me. And a lot of those, and I think maybe some of my first shows were those like church basement shows.
Yeah.
And I think the bands that were around were the OC Supertones.
Yeah.
Local heroes, the OC Supertones, and Five Iron Frenzy for sure. Colorado's own, but they came through Orange County a lot. And they are a really, really terrific band. I think this is a cold take, is like they're great, and definitely like we're so different than what you think of as being a Christian band. I think they, were a little hipper, and the songs weren't all, were a little more thoughtful, and weren't all just like, lift up Jesus, hey, hey, that could be some of the Christian ska bands were, that was about as deep as they went. But Five Iron Frenzy, very good songwriters. And I saw them this year or last year, and I'm like, oh, these guys still got it.
Yeah, their newer stuff is phenomenal.
It's
so
terrific,
good.
yeah.
But I feel like everybody who I've talked to all over the country was like, yeah, I saw Five Iron Frenzy at my church.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what part of the country they were in. It was Five Iron Frenzy was there. Like they
totally
really hit
yeah,
the road.
Yeah. They
And
toured like crazy.
And they all seem like really down to earth, like great people about it and everything too. But see, I never really got super huge into the Christian ska scene, even though I also was like a youth group kid. And I could see how ska was like was so accessible to a group of like, young Christian kids.
Totally.
But one of the things that did surprise me in listening to a bunch of your interviews and stuff was kind of the first one I heard of was In Defense of Ska, where you talked a lot about Christian ska, but you had all this knowledge of like, Real Big Fish and all these other shows you were going to. So it wasn't like you were just limiting yourself to only Christian ska.
Right.
It was just that it was like, oh, cool. Like this is like what I'm doing. And I do think that's really special in a good like intro into like, I don't know, being able to tell your parents like, yeah, I'm going to go to a ska show. And they're like, go have fun. Instead of being like, I'm going to go watch NoFX. And then you're not allowed to go. Like you were still able to go out and have fun.
Yeah, no, I was very lucky. Like we were, my parents took us to church. They were, not like very serious churchgoers, but, kind of like Christmas and Easter. And then like when my sister and I kind of like both got into, youth groups at the same time, they were very nice about like taking us to church and stuff, but they were never like hard line about what we could listen to or watch for the most part. There was a couple of things that were off limits in my house, like Beavis and Butthead we couldn't watch because they were bad examples. But
was it because they were bad examples, or was that your parents didn't want to hear that?
I think a lot, and so I think this is absolutely the case with Pee-wee. We couldn't watch Pee-wee, and I think it was just my mom thought he was annoying.
Sure.
And Beavis and Butthead are annoying, as is Pee-wee. Both very hilarious things that still hold up great to this day, but are annoying. So yeah, I understand. Definitely to parents. So yeah, I think some of those bands were more just like, we don't want this to be on in the house at full volume.
Sure.
But yeah, I think for like a lot of kids, those Christian bands, like, if your parents were really serious about policing what you watched and listened to, and if your parents bought all your stuff, which I think for a lot of very serious Christian kids, like, the parents had to like okay everything, or they were the ones doing the buying. So it was this thing where it was like, okay, well, if you want to listen to Blink-182, but they do too many like blowjob jokes, you've got MXPX. And if you want to listen to Less Than Jake, but they sing, about drinking too much, you've got the Supertones and Five Iron Frenzy. So it's like, okay, you want this, here's this thing that's just as good, and it's some of those cases the bands were, and a lot of cases they were not. So yeah, I think to a lot of people, you were listening to the Christian version explicitly because you weren't allowed to listen to the secular version. But I think a couple of those bands, like Five Iron Frenzy, like MXPX, were just good bands on their own, and I think became good bands. So like, there, I think a lot of, if you like ska and punk, those are bands that are in your rotation normally. But I think some of the not as good bands were just like, okay, well, I gotta listen to something, mom won't let me listen to anything with swears. So
yeah, see, I'm pretty similar there too, of that, like, my parents weren't really policing a ton of the stuff I was listening to, especially my dad. My dad was just like, find everything you can and like whatever you like. My mom didn't really care so much about what I was listening to unless it was like around her. But there was like, I do remember a couple things that were like, no, absolutely not. Like Slayer. I really loved Slayer for a while.
Sure.
And I just lied. I would just lie about it and be like, oh no, mom, it's an act. Like, they actually don't perform on Sundays because they are so Christian. They're like, they take the day off. And like, I was just,
your mom bought that about Slayer?
Oh, my mom would buy that about anything.
That's
I told
really
her.
funny. That's cute.
And so it'd be like, it's pretend. They're just like acting. She'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. So I'm going, Rated Blood.
That's really funny. And I think that I think metalheads and punk rockers, like, the tough thing is part of the joke and part of the act. Yeah. And I think that there's more truth to that than maybe you realized. But very, very funny that that you also made the case that they were serious Christians.
Oh yeah, well she bought it too. I think she still thinks that. Like I'll have to ask her.
Like, oh yeah.
But no, you just made me think of like kind of the alternative. Like, oh, we have McDonald's at home, but we have Less Than Jake at home.
Sure, exactly.
There's a guy who lived in my neighborhood, and I bought my very first acoustic guitar off of him, and you just unlocked this memory in me. He was in a Christian rock like cover band where he would take classic rock songs and then change the words to them.
Yep.
And so I remember he did Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top. But he would go, but everybody's crazy about the Son of Man.
Yes.
And my cousin would always bring over these CDs that had like the worst like Christian parodies, and I still do love finding those. Like there was one that was, instead of OPP, it was I'm down with God. Yeah, you know me.
Oh boy. Oh, that is sweaty.
So bad.
So I don't know if you are leading up to a deeper discussion of Youth Group, the graphic novel that I wrote with artist Bowen McGurty, but there is a lot of that in Youth Group. I think we have a Ace of Base parody called I Saw the Christ. I think there's a Smash Mouth parody called Walking on the Sun, SON.
Yeah.
So yeah, Youth Group is a graphic novel. It came out last year from me and Bowen McGurty. It is the story of a bunch of teenage exorcists. It's set in the 90s. It is set in a youth group. So yeah, it's all the goofy kids I grew up with, but like what if they had to do exorcisms? So yeah.
I have a copy of it. I got from the library. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I fully plan on digging into it during my break next week. I've got a long week. So
we love a library copy.
Oh yeah. No, and that's I do this at the library all the time, where I will find something I want they don't have, and I will make sure they get it. Like Pick It Up, Ska in the 90s. That movie is at the Boise Public Library because of me.
Nice.
So
Nice, awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. I think I really support that. I know authors love it. Definitely like requesting those books at your library is awesome for books and authors. So thank you to everybody who does it.
Well, once I finish it, though, I fully plan on searching for a signed copy, because I know those are floating around still out there, I think.
Oh,
right?
yeah. You could probably get a signed copy from someone or somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I have an email or two.
Yeah.
But no, I think for me, and I don't want to linger on church too long, but now I'm just thinking about it. For me, going to church was a chance for me to perform. That's where I got started.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just having someone who was like, oh, you want to play guitar in front of people? Yeah, we'll put you up there on the youth group stage or play drums or whatever. And that really sold me into going every week, twice a week, because it was like, oh, I get it. I get to go do this. And I think it was actually really beneficial, because I kind of got to fail really bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like,
yeah, of
play
course.
poorly and get better at it and stuff. But I also, like, when I went to like youth group in middle school, it was at this like really big church. Mm-hmm. And then when I got into high school, it was just a friend of mine. His dad had this like little tiny church that he had put on for himself with like 20 people who showed up. Mm-hmm. And his son was the worship leader. And I looked up to him a ton, because he like wrote his own music. He had long blonde hair, and he always had his acoustic guitar, and he wrote his own cool songs. And I came over to his house one day, and he's like, I wrote this song, you play drums to it. And I did like a little punk rock drumming thing. And he's like, yeah, I like that. And then I was like, do you want to play in our church band? I was like, absolutely, of course I do, because then I get a chance to play and stuff. And so once he like graduated high school, it was like, hey, do you want to be the worship leader? And I was like 16 years old. And I was like, yeah, can I do it my way? And it was like, absolutely. So we did everything punk rock.
Oh, cool.
I was so into it, because I was also at the same time playing in a ska band that was doing Real Big Fish covers, of being like, fuck everything, but fuck you the most. And then I'd go to church and be like, well, shout it out loud from the rooftops. And it was just a perfect way for me to go and perform all the time. And so that I think I don't hear a ton of like ska people having that experience, but I imagine it has to have happened for plenty. I mean, how many churches do you think had their own like youth group bands who were playing Five Iron Frenzy songs?
Oh, sure. Totally. Yeah. And definitely for like for me, like being more interested in like writing and performing and stuff, like youth groups always had little skits. There were always little skits to do. You could put on some wigs, put on some hats, do a little skit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely, and I think there's so many like youth pastors that are like frustrated comedians and frustrated improv people.
Yeah.
They all kind of have that vibe, don't they? So yeah, I think that like, yeah, there's so much, those youth groups are so appealing, even if you weren't seriously into the faith. They like
Yeah.
hook you with, you know, stuff that you're into at that age. And it's like it's the music, it's the performing. And like with those like punk and ska shows, they really did a pretty good job of simulating a real one, like the flyers were all like made at Kinko's with that
Yeah.
kind of cut out,
Yeah.
the kind of cut out magazine collage style, and they felt like real punk shows. Sometimes they had secular bands. So yeah, those youth groups know what they're doing.
So can I ask you a couple of mythical questions?
Sure.
When you started working at Mythical, was this like pre or post like faith deconstruction for Rhett and Link?
I will be honest. I'm not exactly sure when. I don't really know when all of that happened. I know it
Yeah.
did. So Rhett and Link, the hosts of Good Mythical Morning, grew up very serious. I think they were both youth pastors, or at least
Yeah.
training to be youth pastors. And I think, both grew and changed and have different opinions. And I think that, yeah, they did, I think, a series of podcasts where they talked about,
Right.
what they believe now and how it's different than what they grew up with. And yeah, I think it meant a lot to a lot of people, but also was like kind of disappointing to a certain sector of
Yeah.
viewers who liked that they were Christian and
Right.
identified strongly with them because they were Christian. But I think that people who were like, I grew up like this, but I don't identify like this anymore, and I've grown and changed, and here's what I liked from it, and here's what I don't. We're really into it. So yeah, I guess I'm not. I don't exactly know when they started doing that stuff, but I certainly listened to a couple of those podcasts. And we've talked about it a little bit, and and I think that we get along so well comedically because we have a lot of the same references. I think that's a big part of like jiving with someone comedically, is like having the same little bucket of references. And
Right.
I think I remember on the show once I made a joke about like Lot's wife, the biblical character Lot's wife. And, I remember like they laughed at it and not a lot of people in the room did. I'm like, oh, these, we just both know.
Right.
It's this kind of more obscure Bible thing that, you had to be super deep into it to get.
Right.
So yeah, I think we both, we all get along comedically.
Yeah.
In part because we have that shared growing up. And I should say Rhett and Link were nice enough to blurb youth group. I definitely sent it to them.
Oh, cool. That's fun. That's nice.
Oh, hey, what do you guys think about this? And I think they got the humor and they got all the little inside jokes. So they were nice enough to write a blurb for the book.
Yeah, no, and it's funny to see it from this side of things, right? Because like, if as just a viewer, I'm just seeing the entertainment parts of it. And as I ask that, and as you're talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, they are like running a company. It would be kind of inappropriate for them to go around and just talk about their faith all day long. Like,
yeah, sure.
And so, but it is interesting just like, cause all the people on the Mythical crew do seem to come from such a wide variety of backgrounds and styles and stuff. And so, just to, hear of like youth group, from your end and kind of that part of it, it's like, oh, there's like, they do have that similar kind of background. So just curious as to like how much of that is spoken about, I guess, so I don't know, I just find it all interesting.
Yeah, sure. It's not something we talk about a lot, but it definitely like has come up in the ways that like it did when, like with the Lot's wife joke. It's just like a joke you can kind of make around people who have a similar little bucket of references. And I don't know, I think that's part of like jiving with someone creatively in a comedic way.
Well, and then with with all that, like Rhett's album that he put out with James and the Shame was like I think it's still in my top 10 albums of the last 5 years. It's phenomenal. And I kind of follow that same trajectory that they were on at the same time. So I was listening to Ear Biscuits and all that, and it was just kind of interesting how it's all going there. But anyway, to get off that, one more mythical thing is because you did wear that like cat bite shirt on the show, and I do feel like a lot of us spotted that. Do you get to like play music at work and stuff, or talk about music? Like, are the people at Mythical, like, are the crew like sick of hearing about ska, or like does it just not come up?
I'll mention that I'm not in there a ton. I'm not in there like day to day. I go in a couple times a month to goof around, but I'm not like in the office to the point where I would have control over the playlist. So I don't know. Usually they have a little music like between shoots and stuff like that. It's people's playlists, but I don't think I've heard any ska. It's been some like classic rock. It's been some more like modern pop music. Your Chapel Roans, etc. But I don't know that I've ever gotten a chance to like put on a playlist for everybody.
Well, I'm just curious about all of it because it is something that like I just think about every time I watch. Is there's just not a lot of behind the scenes for Mythical or for Smosh, because Smosh was another one that I'm really big into, and any chance I can get to like just see what the offices look like and see how things go day to day, I'm so fascinated with all that and how it's all made. I'm just curious about all that. Does Trevor talk about Idaho ever?
Trevor. I don't know that I get the reference.
He's from Idaho, and that's where I live.
Okay. Oh, nice. Awesome.
And so I'm just curious, like, how much he talks about it.
Oh, funny. I know. I mean, clearly I didn't know what you were talking about. So I don't think we've ever talked about. Trevor and I usuly talk about video games together. Trevor's a big video game guy, and he's like also like a current video game guy. So he like keeps up with stuff, and I always like to hear about what he's playing, and he always like has some fun, more indie recommendations. So like always nice to talk about games with Trevor. He's a cool, funny guy.
Are you a big gamer?
I do. I love video games. Again, you'll be shocked to know that's part of my profile.
Scott, video games and comedy. There's nobody else who does.
And you were in youth group, and you did improv. Who's this guy? Who's like a million other guys? I also love to play video games.
I'll put that on the list for the next time of like other things to talk about.
Right.
But all right, well, we'll bring it in for landing. I'm going to read this little bit. Sure. Before we do that, though, plug all your things. I know you got lots to plug.
I'll tell folks, Youth Group, again, the graphic novel I did with Bo and McGurty, available wherever you get your books and also your local library. Give them a call if they don't carry it. And Predator Bloodshed coming out on February 25th at your local comic book store, or if you want signed copies of every issue, bit.ly/coolfight, bit.ly/coolfight. And if you like podcasts, I do a couple over there on the Maximum Fun Network. I do Jordan Jessie Go, which is kind of just a chat show with my buddy Jesse Thorne. And I do Free with Ads with Emily Fleming and Matt Lieb, who folks might know from Good Mythical Morning. And we find a weird movie on a free streaming site every week. We watch it and goof on it. Free with Ads is the name of that show. Free with Ads and Jordan Jessie Go. Maximum Fun, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Perfect. That did remind me one thing I was going to bring to your attention. Do you know the band Stop the Presses?
Oh, it rings a bell. I don't know that I could. I don't know that a song's coming to mind.
They're an East Coast band, more trad ska, like kind of students of the Slackers. But they
I saw the Slackers this year. Man, the Slackers are great. You go.
But the couple in Stop the Presses, Danny and Allie, they also have a movie watching podcast where they watch sci-fi movies and they talk about it, and there's zero ska involved, and it's just a fascinating thing to have this ska band that I enjoy so much.
Nice, check it out.
And they've done, I think they've covered a Predator, so it all ties in together. But
okay, I'll have to check it out. That's a fun fun little connection.
But I'm going to read this little outro, and then I'll throw it to you if you want to have the last words, just something like quick and fun, maybe like some sort of epitaph, whatever you can think of. But thanks for listening to the Ska Mailman podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps a lot more than you think. Follow me on all of the socials at The Ska Mailman, or send me a postcard or letter package, whatever you want, to The Ska Mailman, P.O. Box 4351, Boise, Idaho 83711. If you leave a return address, I will always write back to you. And The recent problem has been fixed. They will accept my name, the Ska Mailman. It doesn't have to be for Adam Wallace. This podcast is part of the Never Phase Network, a collective of creators dedicated to keeping the spirit of the scene alive. If you're into band deep dives, scene nostalgia, or creating a healthier and safer space for the future, or just screaming the words to your favorite songs, you can discover more shows and creators at neverphasenetwork.com and follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Never a Phase Network. And now, the last words from Jordan Morris.
Bye, everybody.